Monsieur Musa Dankwasa can who be Ninian say, so I drop you a new survey and a new polls as to why the best city President Mahama in the 2024 general election. You know, President Mahama ain't even contested bill because we're trying to 2 terms. Area in Ghana and we try 2 terms. I won't mean Kobio. Into the next person, your best city President Mahama. NDC internal election, Musa Dankwa drop it new survey and a new polls. Ninian say. Osha new survey no dia bana Haruna Iddrisu and a leader with 26%. Asiedu Nketiah tosu mienu with 26%, just 1% pen separate room. And to forcing 22%, and Julius Debra, our the chief of staff, my President Mahama, 11%. Means will be an omiyako sema Musa Dankwa du ja our church mu dientia. We are just 7 months in President Mahama government, but we're dropping this new survey. Actually, your best city President Mahama in 2028.
The names. And you start off with the Tamale South Member of Parliament, Education Minister, former leader of the NDC caucus in Parliament. We're talking about the Honorable Haruna Iddrisu. His name has been strong in there over the period. You have 27% of both NPP, NDC, and floating voters, respondents, expressing support for him. But if you drill down the data to the NDC core supporters who formed part of your respondents' base, 35% of them. Now, that leads us to Johnson Asiedu Nketiah, who is the national chairman of the party now. Look at that. Just a 1 percentage point difference between them, at least for the time being. And these two, at least their names have come up strongly, including Julius Debra as well, is the chief of staff, right? And for the many who are hearing and throwing his name in, I'm talking about Julius Debra, you drill down the data to the NDC support base and 15%. But then again, if you look at the general support of NPP, NDC floating voters, that's 11%. What does that say? Because it's a very interesting dynamic.
In fact, if you look at the margin of error when you begin to drill down questions in the survey, you may realize that the gap between his national appeal and NDC base is not different. Just few percentage point difference. It is the same for the top two. In fact, the difference between the top two within their base is almost the same. So it tells you that we're going to have a very keenly contested if they declare their intention for the NDC. I think the NDC one will be much more interesting initially, but I think in the end it will settle down quietly.
It will settle down quietly.
Yes.
It's interesting because then, you know, how the transition and the nature of the transition would play a key role.
Absolutely.
In whether or not the party will retain power in 2028. That's a key component, is it not?
Look, I don't want to sit here and become a soothsayer into 2028, but at the moment, looking at the permutations and the scenario we are looking at, we don't see NDC losing 2028.
You don't see NDC losing 2028?
That I can say that today.
This initial...
Yeah, yes.
Because what? The goodwill sentiments are still
we've done a bit of work. I mean, we'll keep measuring that data as we go along. But if what we are seeing is what we're going to see down the line, it will be very tough for MPP in 2028.
I see. But then that leads us to the next person, because we're laying a very solid foundation for this journey of the poll tracker. And just to give you an idea of how things are going to play out in the weeks ahead of us, it's not too early to start these conversations. Because look, 3.5 years is too short when it comes to politics. It's going to pass through very quickly, and we'll find ourselves talking about another election already. If what happened yesterday is anything to go by, it's just to let you know that the political temperature hasn't died down at all. And it's not going to die down anytime soon. We have a Nketiah ahead of us as well. And a few other things that would happen. I mean, the NPP going to Congress, they'll have the flag bearership, the NDC will do so. So the political architecture, the atmosphere is still going to be there as we go into 2028. Dr. Kasiel Atufosin, Finance Minister, is a member of Parliament. What led to this? When I saw this, and then also even for what we put out on social media, he got a relatively appreciable support as well. But for you, you got a general support of both NPP, NDC, floating voters, 22%. I mean, if you compare him with these two, whose names you would say they have been frontal in terms of both the party politics and the national politics. But then, Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Toforsing has some very good numbers. And even in the NDC fold, 28%. What's accounting for this, really?
Look, he is the underdog in this race in terms of the name recognition. Haruna is a household name for many years. Asiedu Nketiah is a very solid name. Deborah, very solid name. But Atuforsing, though he has not shown any indication whatsoever, people are still mentioning him. And I believe it's because of the finance portfolio. The finance ministry is quite a huge portfolio. And also, if you look at what brought NDC into power, was the economy in 2024. And if the economy will also be an issue in 2028, then don't discount Atuforsing.
Not at any point, but that is if he has the interest.
If he has the interest.
It's going to be interesting.
That's the thing. And some of them, to be very honest, once they declare openly, the race will begin to realign.
Absolutely.
Some people are not quite sure, so maybe their support for him or somebody else is not very committed.
Right.
But once there is indication that you would go, then numbers begin to realign. In fact, those who have very strong social media base, in this instance, I think Haruna is very strong on social media, his followers. General also has a very solid people who are behind him. And also Deborah has a very good solid social media. So those people are beginning to feature a lot more. Then they are out there on social media, and eventually it will permeate into the pop society. But Atuforsing, you don't know, you don't see much promotion.
Well, but he also, if he posts anything on his social media, it's about the finance ministry and what has been done. But you also talk about Haruna Iddrisu and then Joseph Asiedu Nketiah. They've been very active on social media. When they have meetings and they have engagements, they're putting it there, and that's getting some reaction as well. You can see that for Julius Deborah as well. He was slow in getting into the social media engagement, but now
he's picking up.
He's picking up strongly as well in there. That also accounts for that appreciable showing. And then we're looking at Samuel Okuja to Ablakwa, the man, if you put it in there, the Northtown Member of Parliament, Foreign Affairs Minister. And he's also another surprise inclusion that you put in there. But when we tested the pulse on social media, on what we put out, it was also very clear that he has his own following in there. What informed his name being put there? Very finally, then we round up.
You know, before we put some names out there, sometimes you run other polls, which is kind of unprompted recall. When people tell you, people they would have loved to lead NDC. And the names that feature regularly, we tend to give those names priority. Those are not prompted. People willingly telling that, oh, I prefer this guy, I prefer that person. I think his work that he did in the oral may have put him on a certain pedestal in terms of his perception among the general voters. And that's why you see him featuring strongly as well.
Good stuff. And Mr. Danko, appreciate you for this.